Hello, and welcome to the Outdoorsy Diva podcast. I'm your host, Lauren, the Outdoorsy Diva. Thanks for joining. So, joining us today, we have Tiffanie Anderson of Away to Africa. Tiffanie, go ahead and introduce yourself and tell us about your business.
Hi, how are you doing? First of all, thanks for having me, Lauren. I appreciate, you reaching out and making this happen. But my name is Tiffanie Anderson, and I'm the founder of Away to Africa. Away to Africa is a destination management company, and we offer unique travel experiences throughout the continent. We offer tours throughout Ghana, Ethiopia, South Africa, Zanzibar, Tanzania, and this year we've expanded to a few additional countries, including Morocco, Swaziland, Zimbabwe, Zambia, Botswana. A couple of, we're also going to Togo and Benin and Madagascar as well. So we're very excited for what's going on with the company. And again, thank you for having us.
I'm so glad to have you. Wow, you are literally tackling every corner of the continent. I did look at your website, but I don't think I had any idea it was going to be that expansive. That's really impressive.
Awesome.
So, how did you get started? What made you start Away to Africa?
I studied abroad in South Africa at the University of Western Cape Law School over a decade ago, and that was my first introduction to the continent. And through that introduction, honestly, prior to traveling to the continent and spending almost 2 months in South Africa, I had preconceived notions of the continent. This was before Instagram. Yes, Facebook was out, but the wave or the influx of attention of traveling to Africa wasn't there, or even painting Africa in a positive light, it wasn't there. So when I went and it was such a welcoming experience. It changed my life and definitely the path that I think I was going on. Like, this is definitely my destiny. That was a life-changing experience for me. So when I went back home, when I was living in the States, I started telling all of my friends, like, it's not what they're saying. It's not what they're saying on TV, it's not
Right.
in the news. You should just look a little bit more, dig a little bit more. And I had a couple of friends who took me up on that offer. And one of the friends ended up moving, getting a really good job and moving to the continent. And another one ended up going to Ghana and bringing, his chefing experiences there. And it was a positive reception of the idea. So I just said, okay, I wish it was a way for me to get people to Africa, and using it in both ways. Like, I just want to get away, go to Africa. And then this is a way. If you need a way, this is a way to Africa. And that's ultimately to really tell the story that I witnessed personally, and the story that others can share of Africa, and that's through the sites and the stories of natives who live there. That's how you get the true African experience.
Right. And I guess, why do you think it's so important for us as Black travelers to make that effort to visit Africa?
It's who you are. It's ultimately okay. So let's look into just the concept of Mother Africa or Mama Africa in the motherland. When you think of your mother, what's the first thing you think of? That nurturing spirit and that welcoming energy and that unconditional love. For most of us, when you think of mothers, mamas, whether it's your mother or your friend's mother or your cousin's mother, is something about mothers. So to know that is the motherland, and that is the beginning of evolution, and the beginning of life, and just us as a melanated people, why wouldn't you want to go visit home and just brush your feet off before you go, and just go and learn a little bit more about yourself on that visit? So really the reason, because that is a part of who you are. You should go see your mom. Go check on your mom.
That's a great way to put it. I love that. Go check on your mom. And so, what do you think holds people back from making the trip? Do you think it's money? I know for me personally, of the countries I've been to and the continents I've been to, I still have yet to make it to Africa. It is on my wish list. I'm really trying to make it happen this year in 2019, if not this year for sure, next year, because I do feel like it's a need, it's something I need to do. For me, it's been more so of financial, and the commitment of the time, right? Because it's a long trip. It's not something you can do in 3 days or even 5 days. When I go, like, I want to go for like 2 weeks. So, what do you think holds most people back from making the trip?
It's the two things that you just mentioned: financial uh, reasons and also time constraints. But the third one is still preconceived notions. Africa is trending now, but to actually, like, Wakanda and Black Panther was cool, and it unified people to see what the Black wealth, what we can do when we came together, the spending power of Black people. So it was great for that. But after that, what happened? What is the follow up?
Right.
So I think, in a sense, that Africa is still, it's a cool concept at this point, but people aren't really going over to Africa, because if people would visit Africa, then would return, and they would bring other. It's Africa is just so magical, but I do understand. Let's go back to the financial and the time. Also, we have to approach traveling to Africa, if you really want to do it, like anything else that you really want to do. Anything you really want to do, you write it down, you take that thought and you turn it into reality. You know, it's word sound power. So you speak it and you bring it into existence. But with the way to Africa, we have payment plans. So even myself, and I wasn't always in a position where I can say, okay, let me put down 3,500 for a trip. But if there was an opportunity where I can put a deposit for 500 to secure my seat and then pay it off, whether it's 300 every 3 weeks, or I could budget and do it if I wanted to. But
Hmm.
also for others who are, say, new business owners and don't have that guaranteed money to put aside, you just take your time. Just do the research, or just contact us and let us know what you're interested in. Um, stay, I think, consistent with the idea of wanting to go and just make it happen, whether it's 2019 or 2020. Just know that, okay, I'm going to make this happen, because once you have the heart to go, once you get there, it's over, you know.
Right. And how long have you had the business Away to Africa? How long have you been doing this?
uh we launched the company next month. It will be 3 years.
Congratulations. That's great. You made it past 1 year, and that in itself is an accomplishment. So 3 years is awesome. Um, and when it comes to someone who wants to use your services, right? Are your trips pre-planned itineraries? Are they groups? Do you do personalized? Kind of give us a little feel for what your options are.
Okay, so and within, the next few weeks, we're launching a new site, and we're introducing over 12 tours. And the tours are theme based. So say, for instance, the tour we were currently marketing is our tour to Kenya, which is a yoga festival. But it's yoga infused, not for, oh, you have to be a yogi, an advanced yogi, in order to attend. We start in Nairobi, we go throughout Mombasa. Mombasa, Diani Beach, and then Lamu for the Lamu Yoga Festival. We also have a Know Your Roots tour where we're going to Benin, Togo, and Ghana. And we are, sealing up everything, but we've partnered with a DNA ancestry company that's providing complimentary DNA kits to all travelers, book travelers.
Oh,
So
wow. That is really cool.
yeah, so well, thank you first, but it is kind of cool, but thank you. So with the Know Your Roots, a lot of Africans throughout the diaspora are originate from West Africa. And so that's why we named it the Know Your Roots. We go to Morocco, we have a saffron wine and talasso, which is, that's massages. So you have three massages infused throughout the entire tour, and you do a wine tasting, and saffron is a nice season. You drink tea all throughout Morocco. Morocco is known for its seasons.
Mhm.
We do an outdoorsy event. Well, I don't want to say events, but outdoorsy experiences in Zimbabwe, Zambia, and also Botswana, and that's including the safari and zip lining and things of that sort. So this okay, so going back to the groups, each tour there's a max number of 10 to 20 people that we go on the trip with. You can join on by yourself, you can come with a partner, you can come with your better half, and or you can, even if you want to, we have groups like family groups, and it's 8 to 10 of them, we'll separate them and they'll have their own group. If it's another tour going on at the same time, they will commingle with the other tour as well. But and we also have someone is going for their honeymoon to Africa that we just recently put together a specialized package. So the answer is yes to the question. Everything we do specialized packages for just couples. We do small groups and we do larger groups as well.
Is there a minimum age? You mentioned, families.
With families, we do bring children. Without families, it's 18 and older.
Okay.
Yes.
I love it. I love the variety, and the flexibility of what you offer. You really have something for everyone. Okay, so tell me a little bit about your process for how you select the different vendors and the tour operators that you work with, whether you intentionally try to partner with other Black owned operators, or, how that whole process works.
Okay, so that's an interesting question because that is the first layer of partnerships that we build when traveling to different countries throughout the continent, to begin providing experiences there. And we work only with natives, not only natives of that country, but natives of the community as well. So although the driver could be, from another African country, the tour guide and the tour operator is going to be from that country. And whether you have an Away to Africa representative throughout your tour, there's always going to be tour guides that when you go to, say for instance, in Lalibela, you go to the churches, you get local tour guides. It's actually a requirement that with your head tour guide, you still pick up local tour guides, so you feed money back into the community. So when it comes to choosing partnerships, it's definitely someone who knows their community, has a passion for telling the story of their community, and it's just very knowledgeable about their community as well, and then would have some business sense. But there's a lot of young entrepreneurs. Our generation is a wave, a conscious awakening that's going on, and a lot of us are taking that risk to become a business owner. So we look for those who have the core values of caring about their community and wanting to, even if it's in a capacity within themselves, you still are a business.
Right.
So that, yeah, that's really was key. But yeah, we work with white people, non Africans, I guess you could say. We work with them, but layered out. But the core of food, you will never find a white person picking you up and greeting you in Africa with a way to Africa. It's too many Black Africans who can do that job before, and this is, and just because I'm pro-Black doesn't mean I'm anti-white. We have
Absolutely.
we welcome everyone on our tours, but we're talking about the story of Africa that you are receiving. So it's putting beside whatever you have, whatever perceptions you have. When you reach Africa, you should be greeted by an African. You should be taken around by an African. You should eat with Africans. You should laugh with Africans. You should just share stories with Africans. That's what the African experience is about. So,
And I
yeah.
think that's what led me to ask that question, right? Is because too often in various places that we go, whether it's Africa or Asia or South America, we'll see places where it doesn't appear that the money that we're pouring in isn't necessarily finding its way back into the people and into the community. So I think it's really important and really great that you're conscious of that and intentional about making sure that you find a way to do that. So, we're not only going and taking something from there when we visit, but we are actually leaving a tangible imprint to help someone to be able to take care of their family.
Right. And they call it the trickle down effect. Like, oh, with tourism, the money should trickle down. No, if you're going to those community, it should be a direct impact influx of investment where you're going. You shouldn't continue to see people in distress and then wonder where your money is going. And that's the importance of a lot of young people of youth. Whenever there's huge changes that happens in history, at least it's usually the youth. It's something that the youth does to trigger a domino effect. And I think by a lot of us still considering us the youth, uh, we're doing what needs to happen in order to start that domino effect of starting to have Black ownership again. So yeah, it's money going directly into the community. And I have good friends I've known for years who they have their company where they take you throughout their community on bicycles, and their mom owns a restaurant inside the community. It's a Linga Township as well. It's at Mzanzi, and it's with Ubizo tours. And it's amazing how they can just bring people in. And I personally think that tourism can eradicate poverty throughout Africa, but only if the money goes directly into the communities that we're visiting.
Exactly. And what would you say for people who have this preconceived notion that Africa is unsafe? That's one of those by and large paint with the wide brush type of things that you hear all the time as an excuse. Or if you tell someone that you're going or you're planning a trip, the first thing they say is, oh, be careful over there. Obviously, we have to be careful right here where I am in the States. So speak to that for our listeners on your thoughts about safety when you're visiting the continent.
Well, I think you should be safe or you should, be cautious when you travel throughout Africa. But I would say that for almost everywhere that you go, but you shouldn't lose the essence of why you're visiting that place. So there's certain places where we'll get to, and I would say, hey, this area, you know what? Keep your phone in your pocket. Don't really have your phone out recording, things like that, because this area, they snatch phones. I will, but we still need to go and see the beauty and the art in the community. You just have to sometimes go around the rough edges. That's not on every trip, but it's on some trips where that's a reality. So you just have to be smart, but we're going to guide you. That's the advantage of having someone who's experienced with traveling the continent to guide and lead the tour so you can just relax and show up. All you have to do literally is just wake up every day and show up and get onto the transportation on time and you're good. Because uh, you should be smart about how you travel anywhere, but when you say that Africa is an unsafe place, Africa is a continent. And then
Right.
if you start comparing it to places such as you mentioned, the United States, it's if there's a wildfire in California, will you still travel to New York? If you plan to go to New York the weekend before, will you still travel to New York?
Of course.
Okay, so if we're comparing this to a continent, and then they say, "Oh, it's a breakout here, or it's civil unrest here, so do not go to Africa."
Right.
How?
How can you say that about an entire continent?
And that's how they were able to really. There was a heavy impact when Ebola hit West Africa, certain parts, and they tried to put a ban on all of Africa. And that's one great thing I would say President Obama did. He prevented the ban of the entire continent. From what I understand, he voted against that or made the movements to for that not to happen. But that affected all of Africa. South Africa saw a drastic decrease. East Africa saw a drastic decrease in tourism because people will believe what is fed into the media. Now, again, with our generation, we're starting to question things. We're starting to look at alternative sources of information instead of just CNN and Fox, and understanding that it for so we have to unlearn in order to relearn that for so many years they fed us exactly what they wanted us to know. They controlled, and in a sense, unless you did your own research or you were taught inside your home. But when people think of Black history, on the first day of February 1st, Google put up, um, you know, how they do the beautiful artwork. They did of Sojourner Truth, I believe. And I
Mhm.
was like, oh, this is great, this is dope, but I knew it was going to be something related to slavery. And I'm nothing against, you know, our freedom fighters all throughout life. But I would love to see an African king or queen for our month of Black history.
Right.
If we just expand it and let's not just start at Harriet Tubman or Truth or Frederick Douglass. Like let's start a little bit, you know, a
Right.
little.
A lot of it, our history did not begin with slavery. We were a people, a mighty people, long, long, long before that.
Okay, so it's just you know, to me when the thing with the way to Africa also, we work with people who are ready to go to Africa. It's so many layers that you have to, when we discuss what's the third reason why people do not travel to Africa, and we talked about preconceived notions. It's so much information. You don't even have to read much. You can just scroll up on Instagram, just literally take your finger and scroll and see how beautiful different parts of Africa is now. Is the information is so readily available for you, but you don't
Mhm.
to go too far to see, you know what, it's actually, and then you start doing your own research and just do one Google search or even go to our website. We talk about the etymology of the word Africa, what's the origin of the name, again, with partnering to get your DNA. And then with the countries, we talk about different things going on in the country. You know, we talk our itineraries aren't just a run of the mill, you stay in one or two cities. In Ghana, you go all throughout the West Coast, you know, the coast of Ghana. And in the itinerary, we talk about these things. Blog is coming soon. Everything else is, we're definitely going to do a lot more in 2019. But I think people need to start doing a little bit more research.
I would agree. Now, you did touch on kind of some of the benefits of using a service like you provide, where all you really have to do is wake up and don't miss your bus and be where you're supposed to be. And most of pretty much all of the planning and the thought is taken care of for you. So, I guess in this age of technology and Google that we live in, we have Priceline and Expedia and Orbitz and Groupon getaways and you name it, there are all of these other ways for people to plan their own trips. So, in addition to the obvious convenience, what would you say the biggest benefit is to using a company like Away to Africa?
The it goes back to the convenience to know that someone who has the experience, who has the itinerary already laid out, who provide the accommodations, and in most countries it's 4 and 5 star throughout, who provide unique experiences, and you go the off beaten track, as they say, or you go to the we provide access to the hidden gems of the country. So it's not just going to the commercialized areas, but it's really truly getting to know the country from a historical component, from a cultural outlook. Also, we do community outreach programs with each one of our tours. So when you talk about leaving an imprint on the country that you travel in within Africa, that's important. A lot of people think like, oh, okay, let me give my leftover change when the tour is over. No, how about you just give some time instead? If you want to give something else afterwards, that's on you, but give your time, meet with someone, look someone in the eye, hear their story, see how you're similar to this is home. At the end of the day, it's still that the message in between the lines, or the silver lining, I guess you can say, of I believe that God is using me as a vessel, but I think every person who goes to Africa has a message that they need to receive, or a message that they need to deliver, or else they wouldn't have made it there. So it's something very special about going home. So I'm getting off track of but
No, I love it. It's beautiful and it's something that we need to hear.
yeah, but I really got off track.
It's
I'm
okay. You did answer the question. Okay, so now I have to keep it real with my audience. And so people will be genuinely interested, right, in the service that you offer. So if someone is thinking about it, they kind of want to start to frame, how much is this going to cost me? What do I need to budget for? What can I expect? Can you kind of give the listeners like a range of, from the low end to the high end of what they could expect to pay for one of your tours?
okay. For let's say from the low to the high, including international flights, because you need to get there, it's going to range from 3,000, 3,500, upwards to maybe about 6,000, including international flights, but that's 3 countries.
Okay.
So it's a quite an extensive tour. So yeah, that's what you need to budget out, and then depending on your spending habits, if you want to get souvenirs, or if you like to drink on the tour, maybe 500 to upwards to 1,500 or 2,000 for spending. That depends on the type of spender that you are. I can go somewhere and spend a cool 350,
Right.
had an amazing time. So it's just what you prefer, but a lot of things are already covered on the tour. So yeah, about let's say 3,500 to about 6,000, 6,500.
And do you offer assistance with obtaining necessary visas, guidance on things like, shots and things like that, and vaccinations that people might need?
Yes. So once you sign up for the tour and you make your initial deposit, you receive access to your Way to Africa folder. And in your Way to Africa folder, you would have, a few documents pertaining to your booking conditions, your a detailed itinerary, which includes the if a visa is required for the country that we're traveling to or countries that you're traveling to. Also, what vaccinations are required, which yellow fever vaccination tends to be the only vaccination that's required for some African countries. You can go to South Africa visa free, vaccination free, no problem. South Africa is very easy to travel to. You have, other countries like that, but there are a few like Tanzania, which is includes Zanzibar and Kenya and Ghana and Ethiopia, which require that yellow fever vaccination. And if you do not have that card, they make you take the vaccination at the airport.
Oh,
You know,
wow.
and you pay more of an amount. So there's really no way getting around that unless you're pregnant. So with that being said, all of that information is provided to you. The only thing, if you need help or assistance obtaining the visa, then that will be an additional cost. But the general information, which is self-explanatory, but to walk you through the website, and if you have a general question, hey, someone contacted us, say I'm having a problem accessing the site, it's not pulling up for me. So okay, no problem. But, if you want someone to just take care of it for you, it's another fee.
And I guess the last question I would ask you, what is your advice for a traveler who's considering a trip to Africa? They might be a little unsure, or a little timid. What will you say to that person who's listening right now?
Just go look at pictures. Just go Google. Start off on our website first, awaytoafrica.com, and just click on the country, travel to Africa, click on the country, and just look at the pictures and read the itineraries, and then go to Google and just look, engulf in the pictures, and then top 10 places to go throughout that country or top beautiful places, and just research. Just do a little bit of research, and then you will slowly fall in love. uh, that's the best education, and making yourself knowledgeable about Africa, I think, is the best way to tune into Africa. The pretty pictures with just the location, that's cool, but just get to know a little bit more about what Africa has to offer. And I think that would definitely help with, assisting or pushing or whatever is needed to curb the doubt that the person is having when traveling to Africa. And then just speak to people who have traveled to Africa as well. That's another thing.
And how many times have you made that trip? Do you know?
Ooh, I spend majority of the year on the continent.
Okay. So you're
So
there extensively.
yes.
What would you say your favorite country or region has been over the years?
My favorite island of Africa is Lamu, which is Kenya. My favorite city in Africa is Lalibela in Ethiopia. My favorite country for a cultural cleansing is Ghana. And my favorite country to hustle is South Africa.
You were prepared for that one. You must get asked that often.
That's the first time I've ever answered in that way.
Is it?
Promise you, I'm always like, well, it depends what you're looking for, but I just went with the flow this
No, you
time.
you nailed it. You had that one absolutely perfectly. And now I'm gonna have to go and look up that island in Kenya because I do not know about that one. And I know quite a bit
Yeah,
about the continent. I'm a geography nerd.
really.
I am. So now I have to look that one up. And I'm sure it's going to feed my wanderlust and my desire to get there. So tell people one more time where to find a way to Africa, where to find more information so that they can book that trip.
starting with you also, when you start looking at Lamu, go to Away to Africa, and it's away, AWAYTO, Africa.com. And that's our handler on Instagram, on Facebook, on Twitter, Away to Africa. And our website is awaytoafrica.com.
Perfect. And I will have all of that information down in the podcast notes for you listeners. Thank you so much, Tiffanie, for joining us all the way from Kingston, Jamaica. It has been such a pleasure to talk to you. Don't be a stranger. I feel like I have a new friend. And I think you've really educated our listeners on some things that they may not have thought about or known about. And I'm certain that you've inspired a lot of people to plan that trip to go see mama.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much for listening. I hope that you enjoyed this episode. And if you did, make sure you subscribe to the Outdoorsy Diva podcast. Be sure to check out Misadventures of an Outdoorsy Diva blog on outdoorsydiva.com. You can also keep up with me and my adventures, so check out all of my social channels. Find Outdoorsy Diva on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and Pinterest.